Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order and ask for the approval of the agenda as circulated. Are there any comments or changes to the agenda? So we will consider it approved. And before we go any further, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to Valerie. Valerie, can you turn your camera on so you're more than typing? There you are. Valerie has joined us as our new communications specialist and is part of the senior management team, reporting to Jason. She is an award-winning and creative strategic communications professional with an absolute passion for people and stories that make organizations come to life. She's got extensive strategic communications experience and has worked for the University of Toronto, municipalities, and several other organizations, including Participaction. So we are delighted to have Valerie, and she got her first assignment last week and two more this morning with media releases. So she is sitting in the office directly opposite Jason's when she's not working from home as mandated by the province. Valerie, do you want to spend a couple minutes introducing yourself?
Thanks, Your Worship. Yes, so as the mayor said, I have worked at the University of Toronto in a communications capacity. Can't hear.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
We have a communications error.
Okay. I hear a phone ringing.
Hello? Hello?
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Valerie can. Can you hear us, Art?
Yes, I can.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, they can hear us. Okay. There is an electrical storm going, so we thought we'd lost our phone connection. So take over to you, Valerie. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, of course.
We had issues, as you can see, in Seguin.
Yes, it's the nature of the Zoom call. So as the mayor said, I am just new with the team, just started last week. I'll be working as much as I can in the office, dividing some time with remote work as well, learning a lot about this exciting township, really excited to hear about all the exciting incentives that are going on and initiatives. I can tell already it's a hustling place. So I'm going to try to keep up with the pace and just really looking forward to helping to tell the story of Seguin and amplifying the voices of all of you and ensuring that residents and the broader community know how great of a place this is. So thank you for, everyone has been really welcoming and helpful so far. So thank you so much, everyone, for your support so far. And like I said, I'm just really excited to be here.
And just so for those of you that know the back roads, Valerie unfortunately lives a tiny bit over the border to Muskoka Lakes, but on Bear Cave Road,
Yes.
which is the back route into Nipissing from Hecla Road. So she and her husband have restored a log house, and they have 2 kids that'll be at Humphrey School in the fall.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
Yes,
Good.
I'm excited.
Welcome
I'll tell my
aboard.
husband, thank you. I'll tell my husband that I also restored the home. We'll see how he takes that. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? There being none, we will move on to the adoption of the minutes. We have 2 sets today. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the minutes of the special and closed session meetings of Council held June 14th, 2021 as circulated. Could I have a motion by Councillor Moffat?
I so move that motion, Mayor.
And seconded by Councillor Cole.
I will second that.
All in favor? you. And the second set of minutes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of Council held June 21st, 2021, as circulated. Could I have a motion from Councillor Fellner?
I so move, Mayor.
You, and seconded by Councillor Collins.
I'll second the motion, Mayor. Thank you.
And all in favor of those minutes? You. So we're going to go into item 5, the Shore Road Allowance, and I'll ask Laura and Arvin to join us. Council will now consider the following Shore Road Allowance application. Shore Road Allowance application number RAS-2020-0008-F for Scott on Round, sometimes called Hooten Lake, bylaw number 2021-046. Is anyone registered to speak to this application?
No one is registered to speak to this application.
Have there been any written objections received related to this application?
No written objections have been received.
Oh, I have a motion. Lauren, do you have anything to add?
Nothing further to add, Your Worship, other than we did receive 2 letters of support from both abutting neighbors.
Okay, thank you. So this is a motion that bylaw number 2021-046, being a bylaw to close, stop up, and sell a portion of original Shore Road Allowance application number RAS-2020-0008-F for Scott, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion by Councillor Finson?
I so move.
And seconded by Councillor Moffat.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
All in favor? 2. And this is the deeming part of that bylaw number 2021-047, being a bylaw to deem Lot 2 of Plan M-338 pursuant to Section 50(4) of the Planning Act not to be on a plan of subdivision, property roll number 4903-030-004-03402, file number D 2020-0007-F for Scott, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. I have a motion by Councillor Coles.
I will so move, Mayor.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Fellner. Thank you. All in favor? Okay. Motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the staff reports as presented on the agenda for July 5th, 2021 meeting of Council. I have a motion from Councillor Collins.
Yes, I so move the motion, Mayor. Thank you.
And seconded by Councillor Finson.
I second that.
All in favor? Okay, you have a very comprehensive report from James Cox in your agenda package, which basically outlines what he has accomplished to date. And then over the weekend, I was able to send you the PowerPoint that he presented at the first meeting of the West Perry Sound Economic Development Collaborative. I have to read that title, it's so long. I guess overall, I'll take your questions in a minute. Overall, I think all of the mayors and the CAOs are extraordinarily pleased with the progress that James has made so far, in spite of COVID, recognizing that he hasn't been able to meet with anybody in person until the last month. And he's certainly making more progress than I've seen out of the Economic Development Office since I've been mayor. Councillor Moffat, you have a question?
Not a question, Mayor, but a comment. Last week I attended the RTO 12 Annual General Meeting. And what's interesting, I know James also was on that meeting. There seems to be some overlap in terms of what James is doing and what RTO is doing. That RTO seems to be spreading its wings a little bit into housing and other things. So I'll follow up with Jason because I believe he's been coordinating with James just in terms of some information that I got from the RTO 12 AGM, just to see how it coordinates the efforts of the parties. That's all.
Okay, I wouldn't hesitate to reach out directly to James either. He's a very approachable person, and tell him your concerns. I wouldn't hesitate to do that directly.
I don't know that I have his contact information, but I'll get it and reach out to him. I'd have to go back to our prior meeting when he came to council to get it. I don't have it.
I can send it to you. I'll
Okay.
send you
That would be great. Thank you.
He's one of the few newcomers that found a house.
Okay.
Everybody's jealous. And Michelle, could I call on you for an update on our finances?
Absolutely. This is our regular June month-end financial update. Really, everything's just plugging along. Capital projects are starting, taxes are coming in. Nothing exceptional, which is good.
Does anybody have any questions for Michelle?
No.
Looks healthy.
Essentially halfway through, so we should be close to 50 on every line.
We are.
Well, thank you for your outstanding management and control. So good to know we're where we're supposed to be.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll ask Dawn to step in for 6C on the tankers. Do you want me to read the motion first? I'll read the motion first. Motion that as per recommendation of staff report number DPS-FD-2021-002 and pursuant to section 6.10 surplus or obsolete equipment or supplies of bylaw number 2011-057, being a bylaw governing procurement policies and procedures, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby declare tanker number 12, 2003 Sterling tanker vehicle information number 2FZHC8K23AM03580 and tanker number 42, 2003 Sterling tanker vehicle information number 2FCHC8K63AM03579 as surplus and approve of the disposal of the units. I have a motion by Councillor Moffat.
I so move that motion, Mayor.
And seconded by Councillor Cole.
I'll second that.
And I'll ask Dawn to speak to it.
Yeah, good news is both of the vehicles have now been spoken for. One is going to go to Henby Inlet. We're just working out a final price with them. And the second one is going to go back through Carrier to Brindle Mountain. And they've offered us a very, very good price for the second truck. So hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks, they'll be where they're supposed to be. And that's out of our ownership into someone else's. And we'll have money in the bank.
Great. Does anybody have any questions for Chief Hood? All in favor of the disposition? Thank you. Great, thanks, Dawn. We have number 7, I'm going to read these resolutions, and then I'm going to ask Councillor Moffat to speak to both of them. They're long, so bear with me. There are many pages, the first one. Okay, bear with me. This is a motion, whereas microfibers are human-made strands less than 5 millimeters composed of either synthetic or natural materials. Microfibers are shed through the wear and tear of textiles through the laundering process. And whereas billions of microfibers are released into the Great Lakes daily from machine laundering of clothes. Studies have found a single load of laundry can release up to millions of microfibers into washing machine effluent, which flows to the wastewater treatment plant. Wastewater treatment can capture up to 99% of microfibers in sewage sludge, but microfibers are still released into aquatic ecosystems treated effluent. Billions of microfibers are released into the aquatic ecosystem daily in the Great Lakes Basin, either directly via treated final effluent or indirectly as runoff from land application of treated sewage sludge. And whereas microfiber contamination is widespread, worldwide and local studies have shown microfibers present in commercial fish, Great Lakes fish, including lake trout, rainbow smelt, and brown bullhead, honey, salt, Great Lakes beer, tap water, bottled water, and much more. And whereas microfibers are the most prevalent type of microfibers in the environment and have been found in surface water, soil, biota, and atmospheric samples. And whereas a 2014 surface water study in Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, and their tributaries measured microplastics at abundances between 90,000 and 6.7 million particles per square kilometer. These levels of microplastics are similar to or exceed concentrations found in ocean jars like the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Whereas microplastics do not biodegrade. And whereas chemicals such as dyes and flame retardants are added to textiles during manufacturing, textiles can absorb chemicals from their environment after manufacturing. Some of these chemicals are toxic, and harmful chemical compounds can be released into the environment via leaching from microfibers. And whereas a growing body of research shows that effects of microplastics on animal life are far-reaching. Researchers have investigated the impacts of microplastics on gene expression, individual cells, survival, and reproduction. Mounting evidence shows that negative impacts can include decreased feeding and growth, endocrine disruption, decreased fertility, and other lethal and sublethal effects. Some of these effects are due to ingestion, stress, which is physical blockage, but many of the risks to the ecosystems are associated with the chemicals in the plastics. Studies have shown that chemicals transfer to fish when they consume microplastics. When these fish end up on our dinner plates, we potentially increase the burden of hazardous chemicals in our bodies. And whereas a recent set of laundering experiments in the laboratory have shown that an external filter can capture an average of 87% of fibers by count and 80% by weight before they go down the drain. On a wider scale and in a real-life context, Origin Bay Forever, the University of Toronto, and the town of Parry Sound are completing a study that is measuring the effect that about 100 filters in households has on reducing microfiber pollution in the effluent of a wastewater treatment plant. The results of this study are to be released in August. Whereas add-on filters cost approximately $180 to $220 Canadian to purchase and install, which is prohibited for the average household. Accordingly, voluntary adoption rates are low. Whereas France has passed legislation that requires future washing machines sold to have filters. California has introduced a bill, and Ontario has tabled a private member's Bill 279 to prohibit sales of washing machines without a filter of a mesh size 100 microns or smaller. Companies such as Arclick have manufactured washing machines with filters built directly into them. Now therefore be it resolved, the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative recognizes that to date, the largest documented source of environmental microfibers is washing machines, and that findings indicate washing machine filters mitigate the majority of fibers shed during machine washing. Be it further resolved that the city's initiative recognizes the need to require future sales of washing machines to include filters with a maximum mesh size of 100 microns. Be it further resolved that the city's initiative and its members call on the Ontario government to pass Bill 279 and to call on the Canadian and U.S. government to create appropriate regulatory measures to the same effect. And be it further resolved that until households can buy new laundry machines outfitted with less than 100 micron filters, the city initiatives and its members call on provincial, state, and federal governments to provide funding and education to help constituents reduce microfiber waste. Be it finally resolved that copies of this resolution be provided to the Great Lakes St. Lawrence City Initiative and to provincial and federal representatives. I have a motion from Councillor Moffat.
Thank you, Mayor, for reading that out, and I so move that motion.
Could I have a seconder from Councillor Cole?
I will second that motion.
And would you like to speak to it, Councillor Moffat?
Absolutely. If you recall, we used to have such a thing as a stewardship series that spent summers doing about 4 or 5 environmental activities. One of those in 2018 related to this same topic. And it was basically a presentation by Georgian Bay Forever with regards to the initiative that was being done in Parry Sound. And we're now 2 years later, and I just think that this is something that, you know, we put it as part of our stewardship series. This is something that we should get behind. They are now doing a test pilot as well in the town of Collingwood. And similar to septics and affluent filters and stuff like that, this is just another, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the wastewater, you know, in sewers. It also would apply to septic systems, which then, you know, that water eventually finds its way into the lakes. So I just think this is something that we should be doing, and that's it. Thanks.
Councillor Collins, you have a question?
No, just a comment, Mayor. I just find it ironic that after you reading this, and I find it ironic that it doesn't really pinpoint where these microfibers are coming from. They're or coming off of. So I'm thinking some clothing. I mean, obviously, if they're coming from laundry machines, washing machines, it's coming from some kind of a fabric. And is it polyester? Because polyester clothing is made by plastics, but cotton isn't. So why haven't they pinpointed it? Why haven't they pinpointed the problem? This is all I have to say.
I'll let Councillor Moffat answer it, but I believe even cotton nowadays, if cotton, for instance, is used in infant sleepers, it has a flame retardant added to it. So there are additives to virtually every kind of fabric that go through your washing. Even pure wool is now treated, and dyes and everything else. But Councillor Moffat, you may have something to add.
No, I'm in complete agreement. Basically every time you wash your clothes, as you're well aware, they, you know, deteriorate and it loses bits and pieces. And, you know, this filter is to pick up, you know, whether it's some sort of form of plastic or just, you know, materials coming off, you know, you may be putting bags or shoes or, you know, something into the system. And if this is just a way to, capture and trap it, and then you dump out that filter. But you're absolutely right, Mayor, on that comment.
Councillor Vincent.
I'm just wondering, where do we get the filters from? Because I would like one today.
Well, and so I'm gonna, if Dominique is on this call, because she was the one that organized the stewardship series. I know they did the various pilots, and they talked about, I think, 3 or 4 different vendors that you could purchase them from. But maybe Dominique would be able to share some information from that meeting back in 2018. Dominique, I don't know if you're on this call, maybe not.
I am here. I'd have to go back, and you're right, Councillor Moffat, they did provide a couple of different ways of purchasing them. So I can go back and find that out for you, and I can send that around to all council.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dominique.
Yeah, if they're readily available, it could be something that we could put in one of our newsletters with a comment. Because there may be other people that are prepared to spend that money on their own right now.
Seems to me like a small price to pay. Because I just got a new washing machine, so I'm not going to get one with the built-in filter. So it seems like a small price to pay. Anyway, thank you.
And maybe Dominique, if you have available the presentation that was done from that meeting, maybe you could share that as well, just so people have a little bit more information.
Sure, I do still have the PowerPoint, so I can send that along as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Collins, do you still have your hand up, or? Okay. No further questions, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of this resolution? Thank you. And that's carried. Environment first, here we go. I don't want anybody to fall asleep, but here comes another one. This is a motion. Whereas encapsulated, expanded, and extruded polystyrene foam, which is called PS foam, is a common and economical product used for dock flotation. And whereas encapsulated PS foam, when used as flotation, deteriorates and breaks down through exposure to water, sunlight, and chemicals such as gasoline, oil, and other contaminants, as well as from animals and physical impacts from boats and other debris. And whereas the environmental impacts associated with the breakdown of unencapsulated PS foam are significant, PS foam is one of the top items of debris found on shorelines, beaches, and surface water around the world. Whereas the widespread and global contamination has resulted in PS foam being found in the gut contents of wildlife, including in the Great Lakes, St. Lawrence River Basin. PS foam also causes adverse effects to wildlife when ingested. Laboratory experiments show negative impacts of PS foam on feeding behavior, growth, and hepatosomatic index, and reproduction. Under certain conditions, PS foam leaches known toxic styrene and benzene. Floating particles of PS foam also has aesthetic impacts on shorelines and waterways. And whereas there is no federal legislation in Canada regulating the use of unencapsulated expanded polystyrene foam for docks to date. However, on May 13, 2021, the province of Ontario passed Bill 228, called Keeping Polystyrene Out of Ontario's Lakes and Rivers Act, to regulate and control its use for floats. Now therefore be it resolved that the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative recognizes the need for PS foam to be encapsulated when used for flotation. It further resolved that the city's initiative and its members call on the federal government of Canada, Ministry of Fisheries and Environment, Province of Ontario, Ministry of Natural Resources, Forestry, Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Province of Quebec, the United States federal government, and the U.S. states of New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Minnesota to work in collaboration with each other to enact laws which ban unencapsulated polystyrene products in all new and replacement public and private floating facilities across the Great Lakes region and the coasts of Canada and the United States. 2, find common standards for defining encapsulation with the goal of zero emissions PS foam. 3, require the timely transition to approved encapsulated PS products for all public and private floating facilities currently using encapsulated PS foam, and require the proper disposal of all unencapsulated expanded polystyrene products currently being used for dock flotation. It finally resolved that copies of this resolution be sent to the Great Lakes St. Lawrence City Initiative and to the federal and provincial representatives. I have a motion from Councillor Moffat.
Again, thank you, Mayor, for reading that long resolution, and I so move that motion.
Okay, and could I have, could I have a seconder from Councillor Finson?
I'll second that.
Anybody have any questions for Councillor Moffat? I just have a quick question for you. When boat manufacturers put foam under the seats, is that the same stuff?
I could not tell you. I don't have a boat. I think that would be better served for Councillor Collins to answer.
Okay, I just don't know.
Yeah, I think he's trying to get himself off mute. There we go.
Councillor Collins, go ahead.
Yes, I think the suppliers of, let's say, like Rona's and the Beaver Lumbers and the Home Depots have gone away from using these styrofoam billets for docks, and now they're using the plastic, larger plastic tub-like flotation. But I think the plastics that or the PS foam you're talking about here is now embedded and sealed in them, right? So you cannot find any of this PS foam at Rona or Home Depot for sale now. So I think that there's been a moratorium on this for some time, and now it's impacting manufacturing docks now. So that's
Quick
all I have to
question,
say.
Councillor Collins, but when you buy a child's rowboat, for instance, under the seat, they
A
put
rowboat?
foam, a rowboat or something. They have foam under the seats to prevent the boat from sinking. Is that the same kind of foam?
Yeah.
It is.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Polystyrene's polystyrene,
Yeah.
right? So, but it's
Polystyrene.
only dangerous when it becomes in direct contact with water. So if it's encapsulated or if it's in a dry place, I mean, they used it in lots of construction, for insulation and that type of thing. It's where the issue is where it'll degrade in the sunlight, like UV will degrade it, and then and water will erode it, and it gets into the water.
Councillor Cole.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that while I understand they may have stopped producing it, there's still many docks out there that have this as flotation.
Yep.
And in fact, in my little bay, every spring, it's loaded with particles of the blue foam. It just floats in from the deteriorating docks, and there's still, most of my neighbors still have them. So I guess we should be encouraging, in addition to this, the resolutions, encouraging people to think about replacing those docks with something more substantive and less hazardous to the environment. So.
Okay. Another thing for our newsletter. Councillor
Yeah.
Moffat.
I was just going to say, if Valerie is still on the line, she could put it on the to-do list of some, some sort of education or some sort of, either newsletter or some posting, maybe as part of the building department as well. When people come into the building department and they're maybe talking, they can slip a piece of paper across the desk in terms of, a doc or whatever to raise the profile of this issue.
I think both of these resolutions are important steps to try and educate people. We have a motion on the table. All in favor? Okay, broadband update. I have some very exciting news that we had a clue about 10 days ago, but we weren't allowed to say anything. You will recall that Cogeco was one of the responses to our RFP in January. They took both of their proposals that they showed us were going to be provincial requests, and they submitted the same request everywhere. And a week ago Friday, they won the UBF Rapid Response funding for fiber to the home going up Turtle Lake, Star Lake to the town of Orville. Because it's part of the Rapid Response, this project will be complete by March 2022. They're starting work now. Valerie is working on a media release. We're just waiting for some quotes from Cogeco. I view this as really exciting news. I did ask on our kickoff call today, because I was a little concerned about connectivity costs for people with long driveways. And the reply was $99 one-time connection, and we've never charged more than that. If we get more than 3 or 4 kilometers of a driveway, we might talk about it, but we've never had to do it yet. And when I spoke to the Cogeco people afterwards, they said, as long as we're dealing non-paved places, once we've got the digger going, doesn't cost us much to go a little further. So this is fiber to the home, Turtle and Star Lake Road. Cogeco already has coax cable throughout Orville. So with this backhaul to Orville, they will be upgrading their coax to all the homes that have the coax, and all of these homes will get 1 gigabit of service on the coax. It's enormous news. It's not a huge amount of houses. It's 606 homes on the Turtle and Star Lake roads and driveways, and almost 900 homes that already have the coax. But it is the most future-perfect and future-proof solution of internet we can have. And if you want to see their pricing, they've got several plans. It was in their original proposal, but for homes, it ranges from what they call their ultra fiber, which is 90 megabits down and 10 up at $89 a month, to the high, which is a gigabit and 30 megabits up at $113. So it's pretty affordable. And it's really exciting news. We are continuing to work with them. They've still got some proposals out there for the piece that they proposed in January to go south from Rosso towards Gordon Bay, Hamer Bay, and Stanley House, but they haven't heard from the government yet. That's one piece. The other piece is that Bell Canada has lit up their tower on Stanley House and are in the process of lighting up their tower on Burgess Road. And they are actively selling their wireless to home service in that area. I have called their VP and said, could you please tell us your coverage area so we can help with a media release and help you market. And so with Chris Mahan and I, we're working on their maps to see exactly who's going to get it and who's not. I won't say I'm quite as happy about the Bell Wireless as I am about fiber to the home, but it's better than what we had. So we're making slow steps and moving.
Yep.
Councillor Collins.
Yes, just to add to this, Mayor, that the tower by Lakeland is being built now as we speak, and the foundation, all the cement work and everything has been completed, and this tower will be up in a couple of weeks for 5010 as well. So there's a choice for the rest of Norville, either 5010 high speed through Vianet and Lakeland, or like you're saying with Cogeco and fiber to the home. So yeah, it is exciting. Finally, we're seeing things progressing at a tremendous rate. So yeah, so that should be up in another couple of weeks. The tower.
Yeah,
so
I think it's our goal as council to give people as many options, quality
That's
options as we can.
Yep.
And I think it's also our goal to help educate them. And we've offered to Lakeland, we've offered to Cogeco to, send out mailers to lake associations and stuff when they're ready to sell, that kind of thing. The Cogeco fiber is going up the road, and there's going to be a small part of it going submarine across our lake. Reach some of the houses on the other side of Star Lake. Councillor Moffat.
Just on the broader, is there an update from Vianet, Mayor? And if there is no update, then there's no update. I just
not really, except that we're starting the what do you call them? Every 3-week updates on orders and that kind of thing. So we're on top of it. I don't think they'll see them active in Seguin until the beginning of 2022.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. Any other questions? And this is public knowledge now, but Valerie and I will make some big news about it with a media release once we get the quotes from Cogeco. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Councillor Coles. You have quite a bit of information in your agenda package. This is a draft resolution. We are not voting on it today, but I'll ask Councillor Coles to give you some background.
Okay, as you know, we've been working on this for quite some time. And while it's not urgent, there are some steps in the process that need to occur to ensure that we continue to move forward. And I'll kind of just highlight the background again. Most of this we've done, but just so you're all familiar with it. The committee that I'm chairing is made up of the West Prairie Sound Health Center and the chair of Lakelands and the CEO of West Prairie Sound Health Center as well, and the chair of Belvedere Management Board. Jim Hanna and the CFO of the West Prairie Sound Health Center are also on our committee, as well as the DSAB CEO, which most of you know. So we're meeting on a bi-weekly basis. Communications have been sent to all Belvedere families from the administrator at Belvedere and from Jim Hanna just in recent days, outlining what we're proposing and what is going to happen. Jim Hanna is working on a communication plan to keep the public informed, and several communications have already been released over the past few months so that the public know what's going on. We haven't had any formal meetings or invited people to them yet. That is one of the next steps, and we'll talk about that a little bit further down. The chair of our management board will be meeting with the Life Lease residents, which is part of Belvedere, on July the 19th. So they're informed because this does affect the Life Lease tenants as well. We've retained a consultant to help us with government relations. He's setting up meetings with various government ministries as we need to, the long-term care ministry, as well as the health ministry, as well as the Premier's office. He's liaising with them at the same time. In fact, we'll be inviting, the Premier will be invited to one of our meetings in the very near future, just so he's actively up on what's going on. I don't know whether you noticed today, but the Premier announced a campus of care for North Bay. Just released this information. They're funding one in North Bay. It's active in his mind that these things happen. I've had meetings with Norm Miller and his staff who assure me that they'll endorse our plan once the municipalities are on board, but that's a critical issue, that everybody be on board as we move forward. Norm has seen our resolutions that you have before you tonight and our proposed bylaw. The campus of care should not have any negative effect on municipal taxes. It may on provincial, but certainly not on municipal taxes. As you should be aware, we've been reducing the cost, the levy to the municipalities over the past couple of years, and it's planned to continue to reduce it. So it gets back to where it should have been years ago. We currently have funding for 24 new beds to add to the 101 that we already have. We're asking that these be converted to the new site. And in addition, we're asking for 24 additional beds, so a total of 160 beds, which by all accounts is the kind of optimal operating number of beds for efficiency. There's about 170 shortage of beds in the West Parry Sound district. So 160 doesn't come close to covering, that's only 24 plus 35, 70 more than we currently have. Still leaves about a shortage of 100 beds in our area that need to be covered. Currently, we're doing a site master plan of the 32-acre West Parry Sound site to determine what best fits on the site after Lakelands and Belvedere. So they're first, and then secondary are the life lease and aging at home and other types of accommodation. The DSAB facility is one of them as well that is we're looking at the site. The Belvedere site has no more room for parking, let alone expansion, and is in need of repairs. We're currently doing a building condition audit so we can come up with an accurate cost of what the repairs will be. Some of the repairs currently known are about new elevators, a new roof, new flooring. It still has carpet in it, which doesn't fly in pandemic periods of time. And then going forward, all residents will require their own washroom as opposed to shared washrooms for security in terms of pandemic types of situations. We're asking the Ministry of Long-Term Care to relocate to the West Parry Sound Health Center. In doing so, that requires us to surrender our license, and they will reissue it for the new site. But we have to first of all surrender it so that it can be issued for the new site. If for any reason they do not want to do this, we can withdraw the request. Changes of location require the ministry to issue a new license, as I just said. We cannot reasonably start public consultation until the request for the new site is approved and we have confirmation of the new site. Once we do this, the ministry begins its own public consultation process, and then we will begin our public consultation progress at the same time. All of this is contingent on their approval of us moving sites. Otherwise, there's no issue, nothing to talk about. So it's a process that we have to follow. We've been following the Long-Term Care Act precisely to this point in time, and which we plan on doing going forward. But the process has to be followed if we're going to have our campus of care. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I will start off. Art and I have had a couple conversations today. As you have all watched me do public consultation for the last 3 years on many issues, ranging from transportation to libraries to swimming pools, I believe we need some public consultation on this now. And I believe we need due diligence. In speaking with Norm Miller's office again this afternoon, they will not endorse anything until there is a full written proposal that includes public consultation. And in fact, he kind of said, I expect a binder as big as the airport and the swimming pool binder to be the program. And I said, well, I have no idea what the proposal is going to look like, but he said, I need it in writing. So I personally believe that we need to have more public consultation up front. There are many, many stakeholders here, from residents to employees to families, and I'd like to see that I guess, brought forward. Before we surrender beds, we could hope that they all end up in Perry Sound long-term care, but we have no guarantee, particularly in the year of a potential election.
Recall that, as I said, we have the option of withdrawing if we see it going the wrong direction. That's in part of the Long-Term Care Act gives us that option. So this is just, again, part of the process. So,
Councillor Moffat.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess we've had somewhat disjointed regional communication, stakeholder engagement. And I'm just a question to Councillor Coles. And is there a plan that's going to be drafted for all of the municipalities to follow? Or is each one going to do their own thing and decide what to do, you know, to move it forward? Because it would seem that we should have one roadmap, you know, to move it forward, as opposed to 7 or 6 or whatever. And each one kind of gets confused because it's slightly different information.
everyone for today's, what you saw today in our package, every council has received the same information. That has been consistent. So there's no differences there. They may change how they respond to it, but everyone has the same information going forward. We have in the works, working with Jim Hanna from the West Perry Sound Health Center. He's our communications kind of guru and is working on ensuring that the communications that go out are consistent and the same. And everything that goes out goes from him, from our committee. We don't send anything out on our own. He reviews everything, and so it's consistent. So because we've just started that process, we're anticipating a fair bit of question and people calling and saying, well, what's going on? Can you help us out? Which will propel us into the actual public meeting forum where we can have a group together in this kind of format and answer questions.
So just, sorry, Mayor, just as a follow-up to summarize, then I would expect that there will be one overall plan with some minor tweaks for each of the municipalities, but generally it should be consistent.
That's correct.
So that we have the same facts, that we have the same information, everyone's under the same impression and not, making stuff up.
Everyone gets the same package. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I just do want to point out that the resolutions passed by Whitestone and Perry Sound that are in your correspondence package are different than the draft resolution that is before us. They do not include any mention of surrendering the bed.
Sorry, the new ones that went out, some of them haven't received theirs yet. That's the old resolution, I believe, that's in the package. This is not.
They were passed June 11th or June
Yes.
7th.
That was the same resolution that we already passed. That has nothing to do with this resolution. It's a separate resolution in which some of them amended the final line by saying they wanted to withhold or make sure that there were no additional costs. There was a couple. I attended the archipelago meeting, and they that's what they did. But we all received the same package up front. Everybody got consistent information. Some of them changed the final line in the resolution at their and returned it to us.
So no one has passed the resolution that we're looking at tonight.
We're the first. We're the first.
Thank you.
And like I said,
has a question.
Sorry.
Sorry, just for clarification for council and it'll be clear to the public. But Belvedere has asked municipalities to look at and asked in your package is a bylaw.
Sorry.
Can't hear him.
Yeah, we missed the last part of that.
Try louder.
What is in your package tonight is a draft bylaw. The Board of Management at Belvedere has asked municipalities to pass a bylaw, not a resolution, so it'll just help you to keep things clear. Resolutions were previous. This current step is a bylaw.
Right.
Does anybody have any further questions or comments? Councillor Fellner.
Looking for my hand. Thank you, Mayor. I mean, I think, the concept of what's being proposed, I think is really exceptional, and I'm well aware that the present building is you know, the repair costs are going to be prohibitive. But again, I have the same concern with marching off without public consultation on this, and then the perception is that everybody got caught asleep and didn't know what was going on. I'd be much more comfortable to see some public consultation prior to approving a motion like that myself. I think we owe it to the public. I mean, it's an important part of the you know, it's an important part of the area services, and I think it's a very good concept what you've come up with in a good, you know, it's a sound plan, and I just think we need to go to the public first, and you know, just make sure that we're not giving away something that we can't get back. So,
well, we have a full
concerns there. That's really all.
Yeah,
Let's let Councillor Fellner finish, please. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, other than those 2 points, Art, I really don't have any. And I'm not saying that could happen. I'm just saying that would be my second concern, you know. You know, once we give it away, what guarantee do we have that we get them back? You know, I don't know. I don't know that much about it. But that's my comment.
If I can respond. Mm-hmm. I guess there's two issues. One is that we can't, if the province decides not to allow us to do this, there is no point in public consultation. In order to start the public consultation, we were hoping that we could ask the province to take which we have to do if we're going to move locations. We can't move locations if the province doesn't get the license so it can reissue it to a new location. So it ends there. So if we don't like the direction the province is taking us, when we see what they want to do with the license, that we're asking them to give the license to the West Prairie Sound Health Center, which is we're in management arrangement with right now. So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, number one. But number two, if they do decide to give it to some untoward private sector, we have the option to withdraw our request to them. That's clearly within our bailiwick. So we can continue to operate as Belvedere at Belvedere.
Councillor Moffat.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess just as a point, Councillor Coles, have you reached out to legal to see whether this is sort of a, you know, fait accompli, that shouldn't be an issue to get the Ontario government approval? Or is there, even though you have the opportunity to withdraw, and there's probably there's an expectation that they would accept it, have we asked that question to someone that's done this before to see what the answer is, to see if there's additional hoops or, you know, there's the potential to pull it back across the table?
We have consulted with other groups who've done the same thing, and it's all been a positive experience. No one has had a negative experience with the government. Keep in mind that the purpose of what we're doing is to provide the best possible care for the seniors in our community, which we don't feel is there in today's world. We know that from the pandemic. So this gives us so many more options, so much better care. And we have sought legal advice on the Long-Term Care Act itself to make sure that we're following the rules.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Collins.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So, Councillor Coles, then what you're saying to the Seguin Council is that you're kind of like at this point stuck in traffic. You're behind. You can't move forward without this bylaw being passed. Is that correct?
Not just ours, 5 of the municipalities have to pass the same bylaw.
Yeah, yeah. So right now, that's what you're waiting for is
That's
to
right.
have.
Yeah, and that can wait. That can wait till our next meeting. That's not. It's not like it's a
Yeah,
drop
because
dead.
we're not voting tonight. So
No.
we have another couple of weeks to think about it, right?
Yeah, and if you have any questions, please fire them on.
But the bottom line is, because I kind of agree with you, you can't put the cart ahead of the horse. You can't put public consultation ahead without knowing what direction you're going in. Because right now, there's no direction. You could be back at Belvedere renovating the old Belvedere building, right?
Right.
All right, that's it. Thanks.
So if I could just add one last comment, just to say that, as I did mention this before, but we have communicated now with everyone except for the life lease people, which we, as I mentioned, we are meeting with on the 19th, and that will start the communication progress with the people, or process, I should say, with the people that are implemented the most, that are involved the most, the residents and their families. All got a letter from Jim Hanna, written by Jim and Kami, our administrator at Belvedere. So they've all received that as a few days ago.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
You have the input from council.
I appreciate that.
I think you hear that there's still remaining some concerns. And I think we need some clarification from Minister Miller and the Premier's office. I will reach out again to the people I talked to at the Premier's office this morning about the next steps. I do say there's a big question mark for the potential elections, both provincial and federal, that could change the timing of a lot of things. So thank you for all the work you've done. I personally believe the Campus of Care is an outstanding idea. I think it would be an outstanding thing for the community. I just want to make sure that every single piece of due diligence is complete and thorough, and we don't turn around and say, oops, we skipped something.
Okay. And I just add, if anybody has any questions in the meantime, please feel free to call me or write me, whatever. We're more than happy to answer them. We're not hiding anything, trust me.
I didn't hear that for sure. Want to ask a question?
I was just asking for clarification. Did I hear that this bylaw is supposed to be put on the next agenda for further discussion, or are we waiting till we hear from Belvedere?
No, we're requesting it go on the next agenda, next meeting.
We have a new member of council making noise in the background, but that's fine. I have a motion that bylaw number 2021-53, being a bylaw to sell part of lot 130, concession B, in the geographic township of Foley, now township of Seguin, district of Parry Sound, designated as parts 1 and 4 according to plan 42R-2169, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Collins?
I so moved that motion, Mayor. Thank you.
And seconded by Councillor Felder. Okay, thank you.
I second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to remind you, this is really just executing what we talked about at the last meeting for Sergeant Cement. All in favor? Okay, we'll do council reports. We will start with Councillor Moffat.
Thank you, Mayor. Not as busy over the last couple of weeks, but Georgian Bay Biosphere had a septic system health and you webinar that I attended. I'm trying to get the slides Most of it was information from the Township of Archipelago. It was a very good webinar. Presentation was done by Adams Brothers, one of their septic, I'm going to say reviewers or desk people. But it was lots of Q&A, and it was, as I talked to Greg Basin at Georgian Bay Biosphere, the pictures are worth 1,000 words. So I'm hopeful to get some slides to be able to share. We had our official plan steering committee meeting on the 23rd. And then as I mentioned, on the 24th, I attended the RTO 12's annual general meeting just for the first part. We had our I had an active transportation one-on-one interview on the 25th. Also on the 25th, I attended the Bobby Orr 2020 induction class Q&A, and that was really done well. Really great MC. I couldn't believe some of the questions and the people, and it was very interesting. Even though it was virtual, it was very intimate in terms of the Q&A and everything else that you don't get with, even in person an event. So, because you didn't get to hear everyone speak. We had our, on June 28th, we had our active transportation group meeting, and Councillor Fellner was there, and Dominique, and I thought it was a very good meeting. We just need to keep on topic. We similar to our official plan, we kind of sometimes go off topic, so we gotta keep on topic. But I think it was a great overall meeting. Several calls and emails on Gypsy Moss, and I've been speaking with Jason about that to make sure we've got some consistency. Received a couple of calls on the 1st of July on Gypsy Moss bylaw infractions, stuff going on there. Wellness Center, official plan review, also some emails on ice cap, and several calls or emails on building and planning matters. And what's interesting, a lot of these are old historic matters, and generally in the first few parts of the discussion, we have some new staff. I would strongly encourage you to reach out to them and discuss what your question, comment is, because I think you'll find that you'll come to a reasonable resolution, or at least be satisfied with the answer. And just before the meeting today, received a call from a resident on Little Otter with regards to broadband, and that's why I asked the question on the VNet. He was keen to find out what was going on. So that's pretty much it over the last couple of weeks. A little quieter than normal, but still a lot. And sorry, just at 4 o'clock, I got a call from someone on Horseshoe Lake about something, and I haven't called them back. So we'll see what it is. I suspect there's an incident over there, and Dawn and I have chatted about it. I suspect it's something in that nature, but I'll see after this call. Thanks.
Councillor Cole?
Hey, yeah, just in addition to what I just reported, June 28th, I attended a Belvedere Long-Term Care Advisory Committee, which I chair. It was a Monday afternoon, which was unusual for us. We usually do them on Wednesdays. On the 29th, I had a meeting with the Westbury Sound Health Center board chair and one of his board members, Roger Alexander, and it was a productive meeting. They had some questions about our previous committee meeting, so that's how we address the issues. They call and see if we can meet out of the meetings and just resolve issues, which we did. And then at 1 p.m., I had a Board of Management meeting with the Belvedere board that unanimously approved our resolution to go to the point that we sent our draft bylaw to you today. So that was the municipal representatives that approved that unanimously. The only other thing, on Canada Day, I was at a party on Otter Lake, and on the opposite shore to the residence I was at, somebody had a skid steer on the shore, scooping up sand and all kinds of things, and there's a brand new retaining wall directly behind us. So I've called our bylaw officer to attend to see if he can check out what is going on there, because this certainly it wouldn't be permitted in our township if he'd come for a permit, the individuals had come for a permit. So I'm waiting to see what the results of that are. But it was kind of surprising to see a piece of equipment going parallel to the shore, in the water and out of the water, for the full width of the property. Anyway, we'll see where that goes. That's it.
Councillor Fellner.
Yeah,
Councillor
thank you,
Fellner
Mayor.
and I have had a discussion about shorelines. And it sounds like this is another one, Terry. The skid steer
Yeah.
in the lake.
Yeah, no, we have one over in my ward as well, where it's act now, ask for forgiveness later, and it's not acceptable in my book.
No.
Needs to be a better solution in my mind. I've got some ideas. I've been pondering things the last couple of days, but we seem to run more and more into things after the fact, and it's pretty hard to put back what's already gone. I don't generally get a lot of calls from residents, not like some of the other counselors, but I have received a great many calls and emails from residents over one particular property that seems to be a pretty active short-term rental, which seems to be getting elevated, as the summer moves up. So got my ideas on that as well, which I'll be sharing with the CAO over the next few days when he's available. It's other than that, no, it was, I didn't have any meetings. Park to Park's moving along. We had hoped maybe to complete the link between the one section in the middle of between Swords Road and the old information center, but the inclement weather, prior to the end of last week is delayed that. We do have permission now Public Works Department has permission to remove the old roadbed beside the Jolly Roger, which is a huge windfall, and hopefully it'll be a sufficient amount of material there to build the trail back up. So I'm really looking forward to being able to say, take your bike and ride it from Tim Hortons to Swords Road, or ride it to Christie, see the bakeries open, or to Orville, I see the bakeries open in Orville now. So
honest,
you can ride up there and have a coffee and then ride back, or either ride to Orville or phone somebody and tell them to come and get you. Anyhow, that's I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks we're going to be able to do that. So we'll see. And that's about all I have to report there.
Thank you, Terry. I'm getting lots of positive feedback on Park to Park from all kinds of people that have never been on it, people who have little kids in backpacks, and saying, never knew it was there, and it's really great trail. So thank you for pulling it off.
Well, it really is.
Sorry, go ahead, Terry.
I said it really is a very historic trail. I mean, it's probably one of the most historic trails in Ontario, and there's lots of stuff left over on the side that indicates its heritage and why it's there. Lots of railway artifacts and things. So it's really fascinating. You see different things every time you go down, at least I do. So.
Councillor Collins.
Yes, historic facts, Councillor Fellner, historic facts.
Whatever.
Welcome to Orville. Welcome to Orville, my friend. Anyways, as I said earlier about the Lakeland Vianet Tower being built, that's in process right now to bring high-speed internet 5010 to Ward 5. I'm dealing with a lot of residents' concerns, of course, as everyone else is. It's the time of the year. Everybody seems to be up now, especially issues with campfires. Well, bylaw issues, basically. So I'm kind of lucky to have someone in bylaw nearby. So I ask Anna, very, not often, but I do ask her what her opinion is anyways. I'm going to have a regular meeting of DSAB on the 8th at 6:30. And just one concern that when, Mayor, when you were dealing with Cogeco, the fiber, is that aerial or is it buried?
All buried. Buried or at the bottom of a lake. Nothing's in the air.
So they will be informed of the Capital Roads project going ahead on Star Lake Road at probably the same time as
They're already working with our operations people.
Perfect. Good news. Okay, that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter, for always being there for Cogeco. Gail.
Hi, I had an official plan meeting on the 23rd, and I had an interesting museum meeting on the 24th. And so I've been in some discussions since then. I've had some issues in town in Rosso, and one of the issues is ATVs. And somebody just about got run over by an ATV who was cutting across a parking area, not on the road at all. And it's a fair-sized ATV. Well, they called the OPP, who never got back to them. So my next step is I'm going to call the representative from the OPP, and I will speak to Rod and try to get to the bottom of that and see what we can do, because it's really dangerous. I've seen it myself. So it's not just, that I haven't been approached by it. It hasn't almost hit me, but I've seen the recklessness of some of the ATVs in town. I've had a few calls, of course. This summer is starting with fireworks and late fireworks and fires and that kind of thing. A lot of, like Mr. Councillor Collins was saying, a lot of bylaw stuff. I'd like to report that everything looks so pretty in Rosso. The planter boxes look good. The community garden is amazing. Thanks to Dominique and Petra and all the people who are working hard to keep it all look beautiful. It looks really wonderful. And the market on Friday this week had 700 people go through by 10 o'clock in the morning, because my family was there, and that by 10 in the morning, there was 700 people went through. They were astonished. It was really, really well attended. But I have to say, I went down there at 2:30 after, and it was pretty much cleared out, cleaned up, everything packed up and gone, and just back to a regular beach day. So it was very good. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have much to report. We did the June 23rd Servicing and Infrastructure portion of the OP roundtable. That's the end of the roundtable. So now the next step is kind of in Skelton Bromwell's hands to synthesize what we've heard. They've asked for comments and they've received some. On the evening of June 23rd, I participated in a mayor's leadership forum called From the Head of the Table from E4M Solutions, which is the group that worked with our clerk and other clerks to redo the procedural bylaws. It was a very informative couple of hours, and I have lots of handouts from them. But it was interesting to share with other mayors what their challenges are in 2021. We're not alone, let's put it that way. June 29th was an airport operations meeting. It's pretty exciting. The runway project is proceeding, and we have a new tenant, excuse me, moving into the airport. What it's originally called the McKellar Weaving Mill. It's Wave Weir, and she's taken over a whole hangar and is moving in weaving looms, spinning looms, and it's pretty exciting stuff. She expects to start a full cottage industry of having people throughout the community sewing her designer clothes. She's got lineups of farmers already wanting their wool woven by her. So this is a different kind of industry for the airport, but I think it's going to bring lots of people into Seguin. It's pretty exciting. Then that same night was the West Perry Thon Economic Development Collaborative, which we talked about, and I'll get those contacts to you. The Canada Day Boat Parade on Clear Lake was exciting, and on Saturday I attended what they called Open to Summer in Foley, that I think they pulled off in about a week's time, but it was pretty well attended, with young families and hamburgers and hot dogs and games, and the Whispering River Orchestra playing for almost 2 hours. They've got a fabulous kind of lean-to tent that they can rehearse in. The community gardens are up. Some of them are planted. They have a deer challenge because they made them 3 feet off the ground, but they will have to deal with that. They also have now an active chicken coop, and the forest school will be operating throughout the summer at the Foley Agricultural Grounds. So it's going to be a busy place, and it was nice to kind of see people saying, let's get back to normal. And then this morning was the very exciting meeting that Valerie and I and Jason attended with Cogeco, and Cogeco had most of their senior management team, and they're pretty excited to be coming to Seguin too, and they've been working at this for 2 years, so I'm glad to welcome them. And that's basically my report. So we have a couple motions here. That the motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the board and committee agendas and minutes and the correspondence as presented on the agenda for July 5th, 2001 meeting of Council. I have a motion from Councillor Pinson.
I so move.
And seconded by Councillor Moffat.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
All in favor? 2. And a motion on the bylaw number 2021-054, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of meetings of council, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Cole?
I will so move.
And seconded by Councillor Feller.
I second that.
All in favor? 2. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn the regular meeting of council at 5:51 p.m. To meet again on Monday, July 19th, 2021, or at the call of the mayor. Could I have a motion from Councillor Collins?
I so move that motion, Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Simpson. Okay, that's fine. All in favor? Thank you. Have a good evening.